AstraZeneca shares fell 8.8% on Thursday after its gene-silencing drug Wainua failed the cardio-TTRN's-form Phase 3 trial in transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy, erasing more than £20 billion from the company's market value in a single session. The paradox is immediate. Jefferies analysts, hours after the data dropped, called the market reaction an overreaction, citing that peak sales estimates are only mildly impacted, and that AZ remains a premium growth company on track for $80 billion in 2030 revenues. Yet ATTR-CM is not a footnote in AZ's pipeline. The ATTR-CM patient population is 6 to 10 times larger than the nerve damage ATTR-PN form Wainua already treats, 300,000 to 500,000 patients globally versus fewer than 50,000 in ATTR-PN. Before today, analysts projected Wainua peak sales of $6.5 billion. The Financial Times reported those forecasts have now been cut to around $4 billion. That is a $2.5 billion annual revenue gap the 2030 model must now find elsewhere. The question is whether Jefferies is right that the remaining pipeline absorbs that gap, or whether the failure signals something deeper about AZ's trial design credibility in a market where getting ATTR-CM right was always the key test. The Cardio-TTR Transform study enrolled 1,432 patients across 20 countries, testing Wainua as an add-on therapy against a placebo, both groups on standard care, which in most cases included a stabilizer drug like Pfizer's Vyndamax. That design choice is the key fact the surface reading misses. At baseline, 57% of patients in each arm were already on stabilizers, and 24% added them during the trial. By the time Wainua was trying to show its value, the majority of patients had already received the drug class most likely to reduce their cardiovascular events. William Blair analyst Miles Minter said the failure was surprising given the well-documented combination use benefit of stabilizers and silencers in Alnylam's rival Helios-B trial. The expectation was that combining two mechanism classes, silencing and stabilizing, would outperform stabilizers alone. It did not. And there is a buried assumption in that design. AZ assumed that the ATTR-CM trait nullidenstrate would remain early stage enough that adding Wainua on top of stabilizers would still show incremental benefit. Instead, the trial ran into a standard of care that had itself become highly effective, compressing the room for Wainua to demonstrate separation from placebo. A pre-specified subgroup of patients on Wainua as a monotherapy without a background stabilizer did show nominally significant improvement. That single data point matters enormously. It means the drug may work. The trial tested the wrong combination. Ionis CEO Brett Monia said the results have the potential to guide the treatment landscape, an acknowledgement that the science is not dead, but that the commercial ATTR-CM plan built on add-on positioning almost certainly is. The market did not treat the cardio-TTR transform failure as a setback for the ATTR-CM category. It treated it as a redistribution of market share. Alnylam Pharmaceuticals, whose rival silencer Amvuttra won its own Helios-B trial against placebo in a population where only about a third of patients were on background stabilizers, rose 10% on Thursday. BridgeBio Pharma, maker of stabilizer Atribie, climbed 15%. Those moves are not coincidental. They are capital flowing out of AZ and Ionis and into the two companies whose ATTR-CM drugs are now positioned as the standard of care that Wainua failed to beat. Pfizer's Vyndamax, already the market leader at $6.4 billion in annual sales, also benefits. The trial failure validates the stabilizer class as effective enough to block an add-on silencer from showing incremental benefit. For Ionis, the damage is sharper. The company depends on Wainua royalty revenue, earning $49 million from ATTR-PN sales last year. Its stock fell more than 17% on the day. Unlike AZ, Ionis does not have an $80 billion revenue target absorbing the blow. Wainua in ATTR-CM was a material part of the commercial story. The rotation confirms that the market is not re-rating the ATTR-CM opportunity downward. It is re-ranking which companies own it. Jefferies is not wrong that Wainua's ATTR-CM loss has limited impact on AZ's 2030 model in isolation. AZ generated $58.7 billion in revenue last year across oncology, cardiovascular, respiratory, and rare disease. The $2.5 billion gap from the revised Wainua peak is material but not fatal for a company within HER2, whose Destiny Breast05 trial already earned breakthrough therapy designation from the FDA, and pipeline assets in breast cancer, lung cancer, and lupus. The credibility question is different. Jefferies itself flagged a potential credibility loss because AZ is known for its exceptionally good trial design ability. Cardio-T-Transform failed on a design assumption that add-on efficacy would survive in a stabilizer-saturated population that Alnylam's prior trial had already signaled was risky. That is the counter-evidence that holders and watchers need to weigh. If AZ's trial design team missed the stabilizer saturation signal that competitor data had already surfaced, what does that imply for the two remaining high-stakes 2026 readouts? Serena-4, camizestrant in HR-positive breast cancer, and Avanzar, datopotamab deruxtecan in lung cancer. Those two trials carry genuine blockbuster potential. Serena-4's all-comer HR-positive population and Avanzar's TROP2 targeting design were each cited by AZ as among the three pivotal 2026 readouts, alongside Cardio-T-Transform. One of the three has now failed. The full Cardio-T-Transform dataset, including the monotherapy subgroup analysis, will be presented at the European Society of Cardiology Congress in Munich in August. That presentation is the nearest discriminating event. If the monotherapy subgroup data is strong enough to support a repositioned ATTR-CM trial design, the pipeline damage is contained. If the data shows Wainua's silencing effect was itself insufficient, not just buried by stabilizers, then the add-on failure reflects a drug limitation, not merely a trial design error, and the recovery path narrows. For holders, the position survives if Serena-4 and Avanzar read out positively over the next 2 quarters. For those watching from the sideline, the ESC August data is a first checkpoint. Strong monotherapy subgroup results reopen ATTR-CM optionality. Weak results confirm the commercial write-off. The $20 billion move was not purely about Wainua. It was about whether one missed assumption in trial design is a one-off or a pattern. Every day after the close, we publish a market wrap and key issue analysis. Subscribe to the channel.